As if we didn't need another reason to despise the Walt Disney Corporation. As if we didn't need another reason to despise Disney's abortion of a live-action adaptation for Mulan. As if the movie wasn't insulting enough to just about everybody who loved this epic timeless tale. See this video for more on that. But in actuality, the hypocrisy surrounding this product might actually be even worse. So what do I mean by hypocrisy? Well, firstly, let me just reiterate some points that I briefly touched on in my review, just to set the stage before I get right into the cherry on the cake. Regarding the numerous hypocrisies of Mulan, firstly, Disney says we're making a Mulan live-action adaptation, but there's going to be no classic songs, no Disney fantasy elements. It's going to be a gritty, realistic, accurate representation of the original Chinese ballad, right? Also, Disney, let's fundamentally change the character of Mulan from a person who has to fight and struggle and survive through her wits and her bravery by giving her a bunch of made-up fantasy superpowers that turn her into an unstoppable Mary Sue killing machine to virtue signal female empowerment, which wasn't in the Chinese ballad. Let's go ahead and throw in a magical witch, which also wasn't in the Chinese ballad. And even though we took out fan-favorite character Mushu, instead of giving Mulan a dragon, because the dragon is apparently a symbol of masculinity, let's give her a phoenix instead, because the phoenix represents femininity. And let's still manage to mess up how it's portrayed on screen because idiots at the Walt Disney Corporation, despite groveling on their knees for that sweet Chinese cash, use a Western depiction of the phoenix and its metaphor, which was virtually unrecognizable to the Chinese audience, and how it's meant to appeal to their culture, which is the culture that Disney is trying to pander to. And this doesn't exactly correlate to the hypocrisies I'm trying to outline, but just remember, the exclusion of Shang Li wasn't done to appease the Chinese audience, but because it didn't want to offend the hashtag #MeToo movement, because having a character with depth and abs is offensive if he has a higher rank than the female protagonist, especially if she finds him attractive. Can't have that in a modern-day Hollywood movie, as if that doesn't go against primal human nature itself. Aside from the fact that Shang was awesome, women tend to like men with a level of authority. The alpha male is widely accepted as an attractive trait to possess. But nope, virtue signaling replaced storytelling and common sense a long time ago. So anyway, that's one. Secondly, and to be fair, this isn't exactly a hypocrisy, it's more of a glaring contradiction, but I still felt it was worth mentioning because I didn't mention it in my actual review. About halfway through the movie, Mulan is told by the magic witch that her facade is limiting her superpowers, and then there's this whole wannabe epic moment where Mulan survives a ninja star to the chest that pierces her armor, which is also complete bullshit. And even more ridiculous, and admittedly I missed this detail on my first watch through, is that the silk or leather wrappings she used to keep her breasts hidden from her male comrades, that she uses to maintain her facade, is the extra layer of armor that apparently saves her life. Plain armor doesn't work, but apparently silk wrappings are impenetrable, as it turns out. Who knew? And then the narrator is all like, Hua Zhou, or whatever the hell Mulan's imposter name was, died that day, and Mulan was reborn. And she sheds her armor, blows her disguise, and shakes her long hair, which she didn't cut for some reason, like she's in a Pantene commercial. And she's suddenly fighting as a one-woman army, because she's no longer being held back by posing as a man. But what's stupid about this is that, one, this is Mulan voluntarily committing suicide, because even if she lives through the battle, the Chinese, her own people, will execute her. She can just be herself and feel like a woman regardless of the armor and disguise during the battle. No one is going to give a shit in the life or death battle situation if she's a man or a woman wearing that armor. But once more, no one is going to bloody know, because it's not inspection day in the army, it's a raging bloody battle. But the movie says the disguise is holding her back, so she has to get rid of it and shine like a woman, in some weird message to promote female empowerment. But the delicious irony behind that is that the very reason Mulan is alive in the first place is the disguise that the movie wants her to get rid of. It's the very thing that stopped the star from piercing her chest. Had she been hit with that ninja star with that red gown on that she chooses to fight in, she would be dead. This whole message of female empowerment and how Disney chooses to present it is fundamentally contradictive, because posing as a man is what saved her life in the first place. Don't be a man, be yourself. Be a woman. Because men bad, women good, Be a woman, even if it means committing suicide in one way or another. It's the virtue signal that matters. The only reason Mulan survives this bullshit is her plot armor. Because despite knowing this and her confessing that she's a woman, they spare her for some reason. Whereas Mulan did survive this very similar chain of events in the animated version. But the animated version actually made sense and wasn't trying to virtue signal. The live action adaptation fails miserably by contradicting itself and trying to virtue signal in addition with all the shitty writing. And third, Disney made an active effort to alienate their longtime audience that was loyal to them, loyal to the art they created in the past, and enthusiastic for a remake and refreshing take on the timeless tale that is Mulan. Disney did this by once again actively excluding characters or fundamentally changing them and the morals and lessons of the story, removing all the humor, all the classic musicals from the animated version, and they also decided to add in their own forced characters that weren't in there in the first place, yet at the same time will tease the fans throughout the film by beating them over the head over and over again with shallow, tired, tacked on, and frankly insulting references to the film they actually like. They market the movie as it's going to be this realistic depiction with no songs or musical numbers, but they'll also market the movie by having Christina Aguilera make an updated rendition of her famous song Reflection from the original Mulan, and vomit it all over YouTube and inside the marketing trailers. Nowhere is it sung inside the movie, it's only sung in the ending credits, and is only played in instrumental form when the film is, you guessed it, ripping off scenes from the animated classic that Disney is aping off of, in a shallow attempt to try and please their longtime fans, despite making it very clear at the same time of wanting nothing to do with that beloved movie. Because screw their loyal fans, their love and adoration. It isn't a priority to virtue signaling and trying to scam the Chinese audience out of their cash with this dumpster fire by false marketing a realistic portrayal of the ballad they love. But in addition to all that, now we get to the ultimate hypocrisy that recent events have brought to our attention. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Disney has come under fire for filming Mulan in China's Xinjiang province. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So what does that mean exactly? Well, let's find out. Criticism of the film is growing after its credits revealed an official thank you to government entities in Xinjiang, the site of alleged human rights abuses on a massive scale, including the detainment of over 1 million Muslims. Disney's big-budget remake of Mulan, already the subject of a pro-democracy boycott, has come under additional fire for filming scenes in China's Xinjiang province, where Beijing is accused of perpetrating human rights abuses against Muslims on a massive scale. Not only did Disney shoot in the region, but the studio appears to have offered its gratitude to Chinese government agencies involved in alleged abuses. Following Mulan's release on Disney Plus on Friday, some viewers began noticing a special thanks in the film's end credits to 8 government entities in Xinjiang, including the Public Security Bureau in the city of Turpan, where China is believed to operate a dozen re-education camps that hold these people in extrajudicial detention. Mulan's credit sequence also extends a thank you to the publicity department of CPC Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomy Region Committee, the Chinese Communist Party agency responsible for producing and managing the state propaganda efforts in the region. The Hollywood Reporter has reached out to Disney for comment. For years, China has been under international scrutiny for its treatment of Muslim minorities in Xinjiang. It's estimated that over 1 million Uyghur residents have been detained in extrajudicial internment camps. Uyghur residents have reported being subjected to grueling political indoctrination regimens, forced labor, and forced sterilization, part of an alleged government program to suppress birth rates in the Muslim population. China says the detention camps in Xinjiang are part of a peaceful effort to improve the region's security and economic development. Mulan is reportedly shot in approximately 20 locations in China, including the Mingsha-Shan Desert, which stretches into Xinjiang, and the Tiyak Valley to the east of Turpan. Part of Mulan's production team told Architectural Digest earlier this year that they spent months in Xinjiang, researching locations before filming began. The film's director, New Zealander Nikki Caro, also shared a photo of desert sand dunes in 2017, captioning it Day 5, China Scout, and tagging the location as Asia Urumqi, the capital of Xinjiang. Mulan stars Chinese-American actress, for love of God guys, I can't pronounce this shit, as a young Chinese woman who disguises herself as a man to spare her elderly father from required military service. The film, which was made for $200 million before marketing, was already the subject of controversy following social media comments made by the actress last summer supporting the Hong Kong police force crackdown on the city's pro-democracy movement. Over the weekend, the backlash to the comments has resumed, with democracy and human rights activists in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Thailand banding together under a growing hashtag boycott Mulan campaign. Some of those activists have since taken notice of the growing Xinjiang controversy. Prominent Hong Kong pro-democracy advocate Joshua Wong tweeted, "It just keeps getting worse. Now when you watch hashtag Mulan, not only are you going to turn a blind eye to police brutality and racial injustice due to what the lead actor stands for, you're also potentially complicit in the mass incarceration of Muslim Uyghurs. Hashtag boycott Mulan." Wow, Disney. Just wow. You despicable, slimy, money-grubbing, pathetic, cowardly, hypocritical bastards. You preach all this jargon about virtue signaling with pro-diversity, inclusivity, Black Lives Matter, female empowerment, and the importance of being authentic and respectful with this live-action adaptation to appease the Chinese audience. This one's for China, y'all. And you simultaneously are filming this piece of shit movie in regions of China that facilitate concentration camps against minorities in China. Concentration camps. Places where human rights are not only trampled on, but are completely non-existent due to what is deemed to be wrongthink by the people administrating them. On a personal note here, I have been to Auschwitz. For those of you who don't know what that is, I suggest you look it up. I have walked inside a gas chamber and I have seen the fingernail markings on the walls left by Holocaust victims who clawed for their last breath. I have stepped into the very next room that contained wheelbarrows of ashes that are lined up in front of a furnace. I have seen the disgusting living facilities where victims of concentration camps have slept. I have seen literal pits that stretch about 50 meters long that possess all of the belongings of these hundreds of thousands of victims. And adjacent to those pits, I have seen what I can only describe as mountains of human hair that were extracted from corpses for profit from each of those very same victims. And these mountains reach the ceiling of their housing and also stretch about 50 meters long. And that was only a taste of what went on in that godforsaken place. That's a concentration camp. That's what happens in these kinds of places by the administrators that allowed Disney to film their potential cash cow in their regional locations. It's bad enough that Disney agreed to do business with them at all, but what's worse is that this flies directly in the face of just about every virtual signaling diarrhea piece that Disney has foamed from the mouth for years. And what's even worse is that this comes after the lead actress's comments against the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong, which I didn't even have the energy to get into, to be perfectly honest. And what makes this even worse is that you were actually dumb enough to thank these government agencies for allowing you to film where there is all this human pain and suffering happening. And you are thanking the governments facilitating this for allowing you to make profit. Or maybe this isn't accidental. Maybe this isn't incompetence on behalf of the filmmakers to publicly thank these despicable people. Maybe you made an active attempt to thank them because you truly just don't give a damn. All that virtue signaling you preach is garbage. It's nonsense after all. It's just a shallow attempt to make money as it always has been, like the soulless corporate entity that you are. What makes you money is your friend, even if it directly contradicts your so-called values because you had none to begin with. Disney's hypocrisy knows no bounds, and at the rate it's going, it will forever continue. They virtue signal to make money. That's it. It's all fake. It's all facade. Like Mulan, in fact. The only difference is that Mulan's facade, as mentioned previously, was keeping her alive, and Disney's facade is actively killing them. And now, in addition to being a terrible movie, arguably the worst movie of 2020 and the worst live-action adaptation aside from The Last Airbender and Dragon Ball Evolution, Mulan is probably the most hypocritical movie I have ever seen. From a filmmaking standpoint, a marketing standpoint, and a meta standpoint. It's absolutely disgraceful, and Disney as a company deserves to be chastised for it. I don't usually make videos like this, because it discusses topics pertaining to politics that make me uncomfortable to talk about, and to be honest, as of 2020, I'm not very well versed in politics anyway, but this was relevant to an entertainment product that I was passionate about. Mulan 1998 is my favorite Disney movie of all time, so I felt I should speak my mind on the controversy surrounding its live-action counterpart. So please, don't subscribe if you're looking for a political channel, that's not what I do. And I don't do much commentary either, especially regarding politics. If you're looking for that kind of content, as well as daily news, both politically related and otherwise, I'd suggest checking out Metal Gear Mando, Ryan Kinnell, Drunk 3PO, D-Day Cobra, and there's plenty more out there. I, on the other hand, well,
I'm an entertainer.
And I usually talk about entertainment, movies, video games, television, so on and so forth. I made 2 reviews of Mulan, both its live action adaptation and its animated version. Go check them out if you're interested. And that's basically the kind of stuff I do on this channel. I just wanted to make that abundantly clear. But on that note, that there ends the video. Thank you all so much for watching, I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this, please consider staying for the outro. So firstly, I wanted to say thanks to all of my patrons and channel members for all of your contributions to the channel. Your generosity is truly humbling and it helps me out a great deal, so thank you. If you like my content and would like to support the channel with a monthly donation, even if it's just $1 per month, the link to Patreon is in the description and you can become a channel member by clicking the join button below. Secondly, if you haven't already, please consider checking out the channel's Discord server. What Discord basically is an online community where followers of this channel go to congregate and talk about a range of different topics, including classic Disney movies, Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, or whatever. Pick your poison. I hope you check it out, and who knows, maybe you'll make some friends along the way. Also, if you've been following the channel for a while, be sure to check out the channel merchandise store if you want to pick up some nice new threads with inside references to past videos and live streams. Wear your colors proud and support the channel at the same time. And if you are looking for more content, I've left some other links for you in the description, including a link to my second channel. I hope you find something to your liking. Finally, here's one last thank you for staying to the end of the video. You are a legend, and I'll see you next time.